All right, how you doing? Happy election eve, I guess we should call this. Glad you are on board. Let me start today by telling you the following, and I'm going to go over some poll numbers. Just forget the polls at this point. And I do believe in polls. I do. Let me say this. This is a winnable race. There is a real shot to save this country from its precipitous decline, and it's in your hands. It's up to you. It's up to your friends, your neighbors, your family, and you know the states that matter. You know the states that are in play, and you know if you're in one of them. By the way, every state matters, even the ones that Mitt Romney won, and won by significant margins. Yeah, they matter. They matter a lot, but you can't take anything in this game for granted. Now, I go back to 2007, and I go back to 2008, and I go back to 2012, and what do I see and what do I hear? I see that I tried to warn America how bad it was going to be under Barack Hussein Obama. I wish I was wrong, but I wasn't wrong, and I'm not wrong now. What is at stake here is whether or not America is going to elect the single biggest liar, the most corrupt, the most dishonest, the most self-enriching individual ever to seek the U.S. presidency. That is what is at stake here. The differences are deep. The differences are profound. You know, what happened this weekend, with the FBI director is a disgrace. Now, either one or the other is true. Either the FBI director is lying or the agents are lying. And I tend to trust the agents right now over James Comey because James Comey seems afraid of his own shadow. I don't know if he's in this for his own job. I have no idea what his motivation is here. But the bottom line is my head's still spinning over James Comey's announcement, that Hillary's once again in the clear as far as the FBI is concerned, and no word about the pay-to-play scandal, no word about the Clinton Foundation. It has to be the biggest case of pre-election investigative whiplash this country has ever seen. It's made worse by the fact that once again there's a ton of new evidence. Nobody in the media, and by the way, there's a reckoning later this week on this program with the news media in this country. There's a day of reckoning with the Republican Party after this election tomorrow. And those that have sabotaged, and those so-called intellectual conservatives that are smarter than everybody else, if you don't see the profound, distinct differences in this race, you're never going to see it. And aiding and abetting and assisting the single most corrupt person is unconscionable to me. It's so beyond irresponsible in politics. We've got tons of new evidence on the table. James Comey, to have reached this decision, he would want you to believe that they spent 270 days going over 30 to 32,000 emails and only 8 days to sort through 650,000 emails and come to the same conclusion. That's what they want you to believe. And she, Uma Abedin, she was legally obligated to turn over the laptop with her perv husband, Anthony Weiner, which had thousands of Hillary State Department emails, some of which the FBI had never seen before. And yet she failed to do so. She broke the law. Mishandling of classified information, that breaks the law too. And destroying evidence breaks the law. And erasing evidence with bleach bit, that's a violation of the law. It's unbelievable. And of course, now we have Hillary's cleaning lady. Well, she was able to handle top secrets and special access program information. That's against the law, too. But nobody's moving at the FBI. It's an embarrassment. And that means that there's two justice systems, one for the rich, one for the powerful, one for the connected, one if you're in the right party, one if the Department of Justice is colluding with your campaign, the media is colluding with your campaign, the State Department's colluding with your campaign, the White House is colluding with your campaign, and then there's the rest of us. Poor schmucks that we are, we don't have the connections. Later in the program, I'll bring on for a few minutes Kathleen Saucier, and her mother she's the mother of U.S. Navy sailor Christian Saucier, And even though it was okay in 2009 to have cell phones on submarines and he took pictures, he's in jail today for taking 6 pictures in his submarine. Good grief. If that doesn't make the point that I'm trying to make, I don't know what will. There are deep and profound and significant things in play here. Regardless of Comey and the gang that can't shoot straight that's running the Justice Department and the corruption that is rampant in the Justice Department and this ridiculous investigation, Hillary Clinton, this is a fact that we now know that there's a 99% certainty that 5 foreign intelligence agencies got to her email and hacked it, which means and just what she did was irresponsible. She put our nation's secrets at risk. Top secret, classified, special access programs, which is the highest level of classification, at risk. She compromised our national security. That's a fact. She simply thinks she is above the law. She plays by her own rules. And that has been her pattern and her family's pattern for their entire self-enriching careers. And the American people should not have to endure 4 more years of their scandal and this baggage and this corruption. You know, the American people, you have the opportunity. As Donald Trump said in Michigan yesterday, it's now your chance, America, to deliver justice. I warned you about 2007 and 2008. We went deep into the weeds of Obama's radicalism. Frank Marshall Davis, a Linsky disciple, Acorn activist, the Church of GD America, Black Liberation Theology, America's chickens coming home to roost, hanging out with unrepentant domestic terrorists, and America didn't listen. And where are we today? We are in far worse shape than we ever imagined. And this whole campaign, Hillary Clinton, she could never run on Obama's economy. I'll get to that in detail. She could never win on her foreign policy failures. The only thing she had is mud and dirt and sleaze and slime. And yeah, Donald Trump's not perfect. I'm the first to say so. He's not perfect. By the way, neither am I, and neither are any of you. All have sinned and fallen short. But when you look at the substance of what is at stake here, the substance, issue 1, how about originalists on the Supreme Court versus liberal judicial activists? Those that don't recognize separation of powers, those that don't recognize co-equal branches of government, those that would cite foreign law and foreign constitutions to justify their activism. This will impact your country for generations to come. That is what is at stake tomorrow. That is what you're voting on tomorrow. The economy. You want to cut taxes? You want to incentivize multinational corporations that won't bring their money into this country because we have one of the most confiscatory corporate tax rates in the world? So they park their money, their profits overseas, which means they're not going to build factories and manufacturing centers and put people in Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania back to work. That's your choice. Hillary will raise taxes $1.2 trillion. She'll raise spending $1.4 trillion. What about energy independence? Hillary keeps saying, oh, I'm going to put coal miners out of work. I'm glad I'm not a coal miner today, because my whole future may be hanging in the balance in this election. And she's not going to, and she's going to put coal companies out of business. Oh, that's great. That's just awesome. You want a president that can identify our enemy, radical Islamists, or no? You want a president that will vet refugees and set up safe zones, help people that are victims of a civil war, but not bring them here, especially people from countries whose laws and culture and values directly contradict our constitutional values? That's what's at stake here. You want border security so 95 million Americans out of the labor force don't have to compete with illegal immigrants for jobs? That's what's at stake. You want border secure so ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any of these terrorist groups don't get to your town, your city, your state? That's what's at stake here. You want to rebuild our military, or you want America's military to continue its precipitous decline? That's what's at stake here. What do you want the role of the U.S. to be in the world? To be tough, to be a leader, to be so military strong we don't get messed with? Or do you want to continue our decline? You want to fix the VA? What did Hillary do to fix the VA? Nothing. What did Obama do? Nothing. Education. You want to send it back to the states, municipalities, towns, and cities, and give your children choice, especially in inner cities where we pay more per capita per student, and we're 20, 22, 26 in terms of reading, writing, and math. Okay, well, that's great. Institutionalized failure. That is what this election is about. This is what is in play tomorrow. You know, the worst economy since the 1940s, recovery since the 1940s. Great job in 8 years, Obama. The lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. And don't believe your government's phony unemployment numbers. They are dishonest and they are corrupt by design because they don't count the chronically unemployed. 13 million or more Americans on food stamps since Obama became your president. 8 million more Americans in poverty. A 51-year low in the home ownership rate. He's the first president never to reach 3% GDP growth in American history. 1 in 5 American families don't have a single family member in the labor force. 1 in 6 American men 18 to 34 either are in jail or living in mommy's basement. If you're a black American, oh, he did great. 93% black America voted for Obama. 58% increase black Americans on food stamps since he's been president. 20% increase black Americans out of the labor force. Even a lower home ownership rate than ever before. And by the time, by the way, he leaves office, your president of the last 8 years will accumulate more debt than every other president before him combined. I warned you about him. I told you this was going to happen. And sure enough, it has happened. And that's what's at stake tomorrow. She doesn't want fracking. No, you know, on energy alone, coal miners out of work, coal companies out of business. She's against domestic drilling, against fracking. Well, she's for it and against it. In private, she's for it when she talks to Wall Street. But in reality, she's against it because you say one thing privately and you have a different position publicly. So Hillary's more interested in keeping her rich Saudi, Middle Eastern friends, Qatari friends, you know, people that are in countries where women are abused, marital rape is legal, marital beatings is legal, women can't drive, women told how to dress, women told if they can go to work or school, gays and lesbians murdered. She takes millions and millions from those people. She'll keep those people in business, but we won't create American jobs, the lifeblood of our economy, by becoming energy independent if you elect her. And then, of course, Christians and Jews are persecuted, too. But, you know, that's a side note. That's what's at stake in this election. Oh, remember the promise? Like your doctor, keep your doctor. Like your plan, keep your plan. On average family saves $2,500 a year. Okay. Well, Hillary supported it, bragged Obamacare is really Hillary care. Millions of Americans lost their doctor, millions lost their plan, and on average, the American family is now paying $4,100 more per family per year since Obama put Obamacare in play. And you're expecting a 100% increase this year. Isn't that exciting? Epic fail. Talk about top-down government. There you have it. Failure. Donald Trump, he wants portability. On all of these issues, haven't even talked about refugees. I'll get to that. Haven't talked about Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Libya, North Africa, Benghazi, the Middle East, supporting a former Muslim Brotherhood head in Morsi. Haven't talked about China, the Russian reset, China's territorial ambitions, all of the Iranian deal, $150 billion to the number one state sponsor of terror. You're going to get the country you deserve tomorrow. You're going to get what you ask for tomorrow. And if you're too lazy and too comfortable and you don't care and you don't think it's going to impact you, you don't know how serious this election is. It may be, especially because of immigration, refugees, a 650% increase, open borders. This might be your last shot. And by that, Democrats have wanted to shift the demographics of this country so that they will have a permanent majority for decades to come. That's what's at stake here. And they think, oh, this person has been more likely to vote Democrat. We'll invite those people in. And that's what's in play.